Hong Kong was actually chosen as a coordinating hub for the information collection of the black-faced spoonbill. And you see the gentleman here, Mr. Yu. He's still the international coordinator of the census of black-faced spoonbill. He's based in the Hong Kong Birding Society, the partner of BirdLife International in Hong Kong. And the result, we actually count the bird every year. The result is reported every year. We did the census in January, and the report usually is published by summer of the year. So all the people who participated in the census will know the result, how many black-faced spoonbill, how important their size are. We found out that this is very important to maintain their enthusiasm, because we count the birds, and then we find out how many of them. And this is the number we collected over the years. Maybe the chart, the bar chart is difficult to illustrate. Now you see that now, in the year 2012, which is not marked, the last census in the 2012, we have more than 2,050. 2,500 black-faced spoonbills in the world. You see the red bar is the total number. The white is the number of birds in Taiwan. They are still highly concentrated in Taiwan. And the yellow bar is the birds wintering at the Pearl River Delta of China. That means Hong Kong, Macau, and also some other areas in the Pearl River Delta. And the rest of China is orange. Japan is green, and Vietnam, South Korea is also in light blue and purple. The birds wintering in South Korea, in fact, almost all of them wintering in Jeju. Jeju Island is the wintering ground for the black-faced spoonbill in Korea. So they breed in near the DMZ, and they winter on Jeju Island. This is the result of the winter census in 2012 this year, early this year. So you can see that we have actually counted 2,693 birds. You can see that over half of them are gathered in Taiwan. In fact, not the whole island of Taiwan, but mostly gathered in Tainan, the area, the wintering site. And the census, this kind of activity, actually helps to consolidate a network of people, because we have to contact all those people, like in China, like in Vietnam, in Japan, and Korea. So we build up a network. You see, this is when we launched the black-faced spoonbill action plan. We have people all over the range territories here. We have built up a network closely connecting people from mainland China, from Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, Japan, North and South Korea, Vietnam, and we even have some links with Thailand, which occasionally there are a few black-faced spoonbill wintering in the Gulf of Thailand. So we come back. The question is, when I said that 20 years ago, the wintering site of black-faced spoonbill, the local people opposing the protection of this. And this is a photo also taken from some years ago at the same area. This area now has been established as a protected area. No longer industrial estate. The whole industrial estate plan has been abandoned. Now it is a protected area. And the local people now, they are we're feeling very proud that their hometown is visited by more than half of the world's population of the black-faced spoonbill, which show that with some efforts, participation, we can change the mindset of local people, of those who are opposing conservation and protection of the birds. And in fact, protecting that land, I think, is more than just protecting black-faced spoonbill, but all the coastal ecosystem of Tainan. And just in less than 20 years, as I said, at that time, the black-faced spoonbill, not many people know what a black-faced spoonbill was, but now it's becoming a very popular and famous and well-known species. And also that nobody care about this. Now it become a flagship in many conservation and coastal area. So it's the whole totally change of the attitude of people within just about 20 years. So we see that by this kind of census and also other activities, we can build up a very good network. And also by the census, it further identified the threats to the sites. Like you still have the encroachment of the tidal flood, still have a lot of human disturbance and use. So these kind of threats are highlighted. So we address this problem, and then we can think about how we can actually solve all these human and nature confrontations. On the blackface movie, it's a very successful story. But we can say that these are few slides. It's not just the blackface movie. We hope that in the future our monitoring will be should not just focus on birds, but also we should focus on environmental matters and how actually human were related to the area. Because we want to have protect or preserve the area, we want to have very good management. And also I think that we don't know about the blackface spoonbill, but we also don't know a lot about the other species in this region. And you probably, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with that bird over there, and that is living, alive, yellow-breasted bunting. And that is some dead yellow-breasted bunting. It's on sale in Hong Kong, photo taken in 1997. This bird migrate in big flock, so they can easily be caught and served as food. And the yellow-breasted bunting, but at that time in the late 1990s, it was still listed as of least concern by IUCN, at least because they think that at that time before that the number was still quite low. But now I think it's sort of vulnerable. It's been updated to be vulnerable because everywhere we found that the yellow-breasted bunting is declining. But if you ask precisely how many yellow-breasted bunting in the world, we still don't know because we do not have a very good monitoring system for the non-water bird in this region. That's why we think next step we should cover all other migratory species. If we can actually have something to do to cover more about the non-water bird migratory species, then we can have we will have some very good analysis of the changes of species of all migratory birds and the changes and the relation of changes of habitat. We always, when we receive books like the yearbook about the birds in Europe or in North America, we always feel a bit envious because they know about what species are declining, what species are increasing, and they can probably also can suggest the reason why, because of maybe agriculture, changes in agriculture practice, maybe other things like pesticide and other things. Frankly speaking, in Asia, I think the threat facing all these migratory birds is much higher than Europe and North America because we have a much higher human population, pollution, other things problem much more serious. But we do not have the data. We don't know. We only know that some birds are declining, but we don't know how many. We don't know we are not sure the reason why. So I hope that in the future we will be moving to the direction they also cover all those migratory birds. We have a bigger task in Asia, so we should have a good monitoring scheme. But fortunately, now as Spy and also Dr. Lee said, now there are more and more people in Asia. They care about birds. There are more and more people who are watching birds and care about birds. So there is a much higher possibility for us to collect information. And these are the young students in China, in Zhejiang province in China, and they are celebrating the site of the Chinese crested tern. That is one of the breeding sites of the Chinese crested tern. We have some activity there. So we hope that we can have your support, and hope that by the discussion of this this afternoon we could develop some better monitoring scheme for the birds here in Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Simba. That's actually quite a heartening story on the black-faced spoonbill. You know, where I have my office in Incheon, Korea, there is a black-faced spoonbill within a colony within a couple of miles. So, you know, on a good day from my office, I can actually see the black-faced spoonbills migrating across to the tidal. That is really cool. But I can attest to what Simba said about getting local people involved. A lot of the schools in the area of Incheon around that colony are very aware of it and very proud of the black-faced spoonbill, and they have periodic campaigns to save the spoonbill campaigns, and they're concerned about the loss of tidal flats where those spoonbills are going to be feeding. So it is a very charismatic species, and it's a very important species, and this is I think a very good case study of where, because they have detailed monitoring, they know where the birds go, it's actually resulted in significant management decisions like creating the protected area in Taiwan. So I think for the black-faced spoonbill, in a sense, we might have that one under control in terms of the monitoring, but as Simba said, for many, many other species, we're really only just starting down that path. The next presenter is Tej Munker from Wetlands International, who may be well known to many of you. And he will talk about the most recent efforts to collect information on global waterbird estimates. He is a flyways officer for Global Flyways Officer for Wetlands International. Thank you, Tej.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here to talk to you about the efforts that are underway across the world to promote the conservation of waterbirds, using waterbird monitoring as a basis to understand what's happening to the populations. It's a good continuation from the presentation you've just had from Simba, who's talked about one species. Here we look at what's happening to the birds as a whole, using waterbirds as one group of indicators of our environment. In 2010, at the Nagoya CBD meeting not far away from Jeju, we launched what was called the State of the World's Waterbirds 2010. And that gave us, for the first time for waterbirds, an overview of what was happening and brought together the results of long-term monitoring. And a simple index showed us that waterbirds were not doing very well. They were below a zero index if you look over the last few decades. But in general, there was a slight positive trend. But we were still in the red, which means we're not very safe. And I'll show you in the subsequent slides what that actually means. The numbers speak for themselves. I know that you all have or should have a copy of my presentation in the publication with you. So I won't spend too much time on the content of these, but just use it as a way to stimulate the discussions that we would like to have after this presentation. When you look at this global trend, it's often confusing as to exactly what's happening. When you start deconstructing a single line, the picture is very much more complex, and it changes across regions, changes for different groups of species. So if we break it down into the three main flyway regions of the world, the broadest regions, the Americas, Africa, Eurasia, and the Asia Pacific, you can see with that single gray line, which is this one, some populations are doing better, they're above the global trend, others are doing worse, and you can compare that to the Asia-Pacific story, where all the populations are below the grey line of the global average. On the other hand, the Americas are also doing better. If we focus on the Asia-Pacific, and again the charismatic species that you've probably seen at the species pavilion is the backdrop for this population, the spoonbill sandpiper. It's perhaps one of the greatest species of concern for us at the moment, because the species and its habitat is disappearing very rapidly in the Yellow Sea, in the other intertidal wetlands across East Asia. So if you look at the populations here, all the populations are above the below the global trend, and the story is quite different if you look at residents, which seem to be doing better, and residents in Oceania, which are doing better, and residents in short distance migrants in Asia, which are doing better, but have started low. Whereas long distance migrants, for some populations, seem to be doing much better. And I think you get a confusing story even then when you look at just 3 lines. So we should not stop just at these 3 lines, but look much more into what's happening at the population level, at the species level. And I'll come to that in a moment. One of the good news stories you just heard from Simba about the black-faced spoonbill. It's a long-distance migrant, but it seems to be doing better. Much of that information that I'm talking about now, and we'll talk about in the next few slides, comes from the International Waterbird Census and similar census programs that are happening at the national level. The International Waterbird Census covers most of the world, areas covered in blue, and collaborates with programs that happen in North America outside this scheme. It is one of the longest running schemes for collecting information on biodiversity that is running at such a large scale. And most importantly, I think it depends on a large volunteer base. Different estimates tell us that at least 10,000 volunteers in 1 year, 14,000 volunteers in another year are participating in this program. So it's really one of the largest citizen science programs that are running on such a long-term basis. A little more detail about what the International Waterbird Census is. It is a program to collect information on population estimates of waterbirds, to look at their distribution, to understand what's happening to the wetlands, to use the program as a way to raise awareness about waterbirds, about the issues related to their habitat, and to support conservation action at the local level and at the international level, to feed into policy decisions at the local level, the international level. So it works at many different scales to support conservation action. In more recent years, the information has been critical to helping understand what's happening to the role of waterbirds and the movements of waterbirds in avian influenza, for example, which in this region was a huge problem earlier in the last decade. Fortunately, that seems to have reduced in intensity for the moment, but we don't know what may happen in the future. So continued monitoring of waterbird populations are important, as well as supporting disease surveillance work. If we look at a little more what's happening within the Asian Waterbird Census, in terms of coordination of the census, it is divided into 4 sub-regions. It covers about 25 countries. A large number of sites have been covered over the lifespan of this program, which it was initiated in 1987. Over 6,000 sites have been covered. From what we know, many of these sites don't exist at the moment, or the quality of these sites has changed. Some of these have been lost. Some of these have been reclaimed, filled in, or are polluted. So the numbers of birds that they support have changed over these years. This gives us some insight into what's happening to many of the other wetlands that are not being covered by such a program. So it can help you to provide an indication of what's going on in the larger environment from a sample set of sites that are being covered. This program at the moment is coordinated from our office in New Delhi in South Asia, and is implemented through a program of national coordinators. And the structure here is shown where you've got people going out, large numbers of people going out and counting birds each year. They send their information to national coordinators, which feeds into national databases, and that comes up to the regional coordinators whose computer is smoking there because of the kind of information we sometimes get. And this is one of the issues. We want to improve the quality of information, the regularity, so that the outputs are more user-friendly. If you look at how it happens at a national level, the coordination may happen at a national institute, such as in Korea, and Kim Jin-han has been one of the leading national coordinators for the program for many years, and through which we get very good information, reliable information, and expanding information in terms of counts, in terms of sites that are being covered on an annual basis. In other countries, the partner NGO may be responsible for collecting the information, and in many of these countries, it's the BirdLife partner who's responsible for this. In other countries, maybe an individual, and then you go down to a local level where you have a large number of volunteers who may be professional ornithologists,